So what if I told you that you're probably not running with the best operating system item right now for your character, especially since there's a bunch of really awesome options already in the game. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to decide which ones are better than the others, and even more so there's a ton of combos you can use with the applicable mods that can definitely enable your character even more and not just make you way more powerful but also make the game way more fun and interesting. So let's discuss all of that in this video, and as always, if you enjoy it at any point, it would be super awesome if you also left a like on it. By the way, today's video has been brought to you thanks to Instant Gaming, so if you really enjoy cheap games and want the best discounts around, definitely go ahead and check them out by using my links in the description box down below. Now, as we've mentioned previously, you can pretty much split the operating system types into 3 categories. This includes the cyber decks that give you access to quick hacking and hacker builds. Then we have the berserkers, which are mostly aimed towards melee damage but also some defense and a bit of help towards weapons too. And finally the sandviston, which is your main way to go in full on slow motion and also pure damage increase and crit chance. So previously I've mentioned just how much I love the contagion build. Of course, this works the best with a Netwatch MK5, which just helps you tremendously when it comes to that increased spread by 60% and additional 3 targets on top of the original one. Of course, using the contagion and the ping, it's definitely very useful, but what if I told you you can make it so that this can work with a melee build, for example, or a build that uses other types of weapons outside of hacking, and the only thing you need to invest points into is intelligence. So this is thanks to another demon called Short Circuit. This is like kinda one of the first really awesome interactions that I really enjoy. If you get this as a legendary quality, it gives you the really awesome passive where if you equip this, just having it equipped, any critical hit that you apply with any weapon against any target is also going to apply the tier 1 effect of the short circuit, which is basically that 6,600 damage per second that you're seeing right here. So essentially this is why, for example, you might go in with a katana, a high crit build, and even be able to electrocute everybody with a single attack simply because you have that equipped onto your character, and again without any points invested into body or cool or reflexes whatsoever. This is purely with 20 points invested into intelligence, yet it is working amazingly well with a totally different kind of build that you probably didn't expect. For example, in this build, which is pretty advanced, I already have about 59% critical chance by default, which means that I only need about 41 left to reach the maximum 100% critical chance cap, and that's already provided by my blade in this case, which absolutely exceeds that, since that also provides a 60% critical chance increase. Now, to make something like this work, obviously you would need to stack a ton of crit chance. Again, try to aim for that 100% cap, and second of all, you will need that short circuit of legendary quality so that you can benefit from the passive. Now, there's 2 ways in which you can get that one, either by just getting level 18 into intelligence and invest points into the perks that unlock these into your crafting abilities. Alternatively, you can get these earlier and a bit easier by just investing about 12 points into Breach Protocol, get the data mine virtuoso, and try to hack terminals that require high intelligence, like at least 8 or 10 points, so that you have a maximum chance to also get legendary quick hacks from them. The second type of effect that I really enjoy is the one that causes panic through the enemies, and here is where the next combo kinda comes into play. We're gonna use the synapse burnout and the suicide in this case because it makes a ton of sense. So the passive for the synapse burnout is as follows. If you have this just equipped at the legendary quality, defeating any enemy with any quick hack will cause the nearby enemies to panic, which fits perfectly with something like suicide, for example, that makes it so that anytime an enemy panics and you kill it, it's going to reduce your next quick hack by 2 points in this case. So if I were to go ahead and panic the enemies, you would normally have about 7 or 8 RAM requirement to cast an ultimate demon, but in this case, because I have this combination, I can bring that all the way down to 1, so 1 single point into suicide. And of course, on top of this, you can also get the stuff from the intelligence skill tree that further benefits and reduces the RAM cost of your abilities. Again, these are just interactions that you can simply apply to your character without even knowing unless you go ahead and check out the descriptions. Now, this is of course for the cyber deck, but there's way more that are really interesting, and the next operating system that I do want to talk about is going to be the Sandviston, because I truly believe most people out there didn't get the proper one or the best one in the game, but the one that is the best in the game is probably not the one that's going to give you the biggest bonuses. And this again depends if you smacked fingers in the face early on in the game, because if you did that, you're going to lose access to probably the best Sandviston currently in the game, which is the quaint Sandviston MK4. Not because it gives you the highest bonus damage, not because it gives you the highest critical chance, or even more so the lack of critical damage that it doesn't even appear on this, but because it has by far the lowest cooldown in the game, which is only 15 seconds, and that is of course on a pretty long timer of 12 seconds. So essentially you activate this, it lasts 12 seconds, and then you need to wait 15 seconds for it to activate again. But guess what? You can bring that down all the way up to just 3 seconds with a few simple combinations. And this brings us to my next big recommendation, and that's gonna be the Sandviston heatsink, which is kind of like a modification you can apply to your character, or well, in this case to the Sandviston. Now you can go ahead and find these in a bunch of ways, but the best one is going to be the crafting spec right here in Arroyo. So you can go ahead at this Ripper Doc on this side of the map, and he has a chance to actually sell you the crafting spec, which is going to be way better than anything else. Now in case you don't see it, just go ahead and reload or skip the time until you see it popping in its inventory, and once you've done that, go ahead and purchase this. So what this does is that if you're level 35 or above, you have a chance to also craft this as an epic quality, not just green or white or blue. So if you're over level 35, you can just craft a bunch of these, and eventually you're going to see that you have an epic Sandviston heatsink that each reduces the cooldown of 3.5 seconds. So what this means is that you can go ahead, put 3 of these into your slots and bring all that down from 15 seconds all the way up to 4.5 in this case, but because I also have a cyberware implant that further reduces my cyberware cooldown by another 30%, I can bring that down to literally just 3 seconds. So the combo over here is so powerful that I can literally spam this almost constantly, making it extremely fun. You can go in with a full-on slow motion game build. It's really interesting to play with it, especially if you played some of those like 2010 games where you could go in and just like slow down time and kill enemies. There's a few of them that I kind of forgot the name of, but they were definitely very entertaining. And again, you also get that 15% additional critical chance on top and the 15% damage increase every time you activate this. Now this kind of brings me to the final point, and that is the Berserker. And I didn't say this previously, but I will say it now. Out of all of the operating systems currently in the game, I believe that the Berserker is probably the weakest in the game. It's not that it's completely useless, it's just that they feel as if they are the weakest when it comes to the types of bonuses and passives and usefulness that they bring to your overall build. This doesn't mean that you can't get a pretty good one, and of course you can get for example something like the Zeta Tech Berserker MK5, which I think is the best currently in the game, right here at Robert the Ripper Doc over in the plaza in Kabuki. So this gives you a number of really interesting options. The main one is going to be for that melee damage, by default just 20%, but it gives you some health regeneration on kill, about 20% resistances, and some weapon recoil in the process too. Now if you want to make this really powerful, you would probably immediately pair this up with a beast mode enhancement that further increases your resistances, your health regeneration, but most important, another 100% more damage to your Berserker melee damage. By the way, you can get one Berserker for absolutely free by just doing one of the psycho missions in the city center in downtown. You're going to go to this building right here, there's a parking lot, and if you take down the psycho in the area, eventually near this wall, you're going to notice that there's a box that contains a free legendary mod. You can even go ahead and combine this with a devastating Berserk that gives you another 15% critical chance. You can get this, by the way, for free in a box box in another parking lot right here in Kabuki. So it's gonna be right here. After you take down these like 3 or 4 enemies, you're gonna be able to get it from this fridge looking kind of box, and yeah, it's going to give you quite some nice stats. Now the reason I'm saying that this isn't as great as the previous ones is because it's not going to have that immediate effect as you would have with the other ones. Like, you don't have access to hacking, you also don't slow down time, you just become more tanky and your melee attacks deal more damage. But if you're playing with a Mantis Blade kind of build or with just like a katana build, this is going to be amazing. It's also going to last for about 25 seconds with the Z attack Berserk, so you're going to like have this for a very long time and you're going to deal a ton of damage. Again, it depends on your preferences, but among these, when it comes to taking down enemies, this can also do a really great job, since you're essentially not just doubling your damage but tripling it with all of these plus 100% damage mods onto your character. And this is all I have to say about all of these operating systems. Of course, if there's anything different changing up in future patches, I will definitely come in with an update, but in the meantime, in my opinion, these are the best operating systems for each of the types currently in the game. Thank you so much for watching though, and I'll see you guys next time.